Employees at a North Carolina Toys R Us keep finding weird things. Missing food, strange noises after hours, a mysterious hole in the ceiling. Turns out, it isn't rats, it's a man. For months, Jeffrey Manchester, better known as the Roofman, secretly lived above the store, sneaking down at night to raid the snack aisle and play video games. By day, he watched shoppers from his hidden perch like it was his own personal reality show. This isn't just a squatter situation, this is a full-blown criminal career with a flair for the cinematic. Because before Manchester was living above the toys, he was robbing fast food joints across America, using a plan so polite it almost made you forget he had a gun. And the story of how he pulled it off and what brought him down is so unbelievable, it's finally getting the Hollywood treatment. Good to see you. I'm Chris. Let's recap. Jeffrey Manchester isn't your typical criminal. He isn't violent, he isn't sloppy, and he definitely isn't in it for chaos. If anything, he's meticulous, the kind of guy who plans his robberies like a military operation, probably because, well, he was a soldier. Before he became the Roofman, Jeff served in the U.S. Army Reserves. He was disciplined, fit, and smart. Traits you'd usually hope someone uses for, good. But somewhere along the way, that skill set took a detour. Instead of defending bases, he started building them inside the roofs of the places he robbed. His targets? Fast food restaurants, mostly McDonald's. He sneaks in through the ventilation system after hours, drops down into the kitchen, and waits for the morning crew to arrive. Then, with calm, polite precision, he pulls out his gun and says something like, "I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just need the money." No shouting, no panic. He even tells employees to put on their coats before locking them in the freezer. And he's the one calling the cops later that day to let them out. He's like the Chick-fil-A of armed robbery, unnervingly courteous. Over the years, he hits nearly 40 fast food joints across 9 states, earning the nickname the Roofman from investigators who can't figure out how this quiet, polite phantom keeps slipping in and out through the ceiling. Then, like every carefully built plan, things fall apart. In 2000, after hitting 2 McDonald's in one day, Jeff is finally caught and sentenced to 45 years in prison. Now, you'd think that would be the end of his story, except it isn't. Because 4 years later, he escapes. In June 2004, Jeffrey Manchester pulls off what he later calls his masterpiece. A prison break so bold, so bizarre, it's straight out of a heist movie. At the time, he's serving a 45-year sentence at Brown Creek Correctional Institution in North Carolina. But Jeff's not built for confinement. He's built for creativity. So when he lands a job in the prison's metal shop, he gets to work on a plan. A big one. He builds a makeshift plywood platform, spray paints it black, and bolts it to the underside of a delivery truck. When the truck rolls out of the gates, Jeff's clinging underneath, pressed between the plywood and asphalt, hidden in the shadows. No one notices. The truck leaves, and just like that, so does he. From there, he hitchhikes his way to Charlotte, North Carolina, where he vanishes into everyday life. But freedom comes with a problem. He needs a place to hide, and not just any place, somewhere big, loud, and full of hiding spots. So naturally, he picks Toys R Us. For months, he lives inside the store, tucked above the ceiling, behind walls, slipping through crawl spaces no one ever looks at. He eats baby food, candy, and whatever snacks he can scavenge from the shelves. At night when the lights go out, he roams the aisles, rides bikes through empty corridors, even plays with the toys. And because he's nothing if not resourceful, he rigs up baby monitors and taps into the store's surveillance feeds, turning Toys R Us into his own personal command center. To the world, it's just a toy store. But to Jeffrey Manchester, it's home base. As holiday season 2004 ramps up and foot traffic through the toy store increases, he shifts operations. He moves into the abandoned Circuit City next door, establishing a secondary hideout beneath a stairwell. There, he paints walls, hangs posters, watches movies, essentially trying to build a life in the shadows. While the police are searching for an escaped convict, Jeffrey Manchester is busy reinventing himself as someone else entirely, John Zorn. Under that name, he slips seamlessly into suburban life in Charlotte, North Carolina. He starts going to Crossroads Presbyterian Church, shakes hands, smiles at neighbors, and even begins dating a woman named Lee Wainscott. To everyone around him, John is polite, quiet, maybe a little mysterious, the kind of guy who says he works for the government and can't really talk about it. In reality, his classified job is hiding in a Toys R Us. Now, the upcoming Roofman movie adds its own twist. In the film, Kirsten Dunst plays his love interest, but instead of meeting him at church, she's an employee at the toy store. Hollywood magic, of course. Because in real life, Lee had absolutely no idea she was dating a fugitive who spent his nights living above the bike aisle. But before Jeffrey became the man in the ceiling, he was just a kid from Rancho Cordova, California, born in 1971 and raised in the kind of place where life looked predictable. Sunny, suburban, steady. By his early 20s, he joined the Army Reserves, gotten married, and had 3 kids. He was living the checklist life. Duty, discipline, and diapers. He even served with the 82nd Airborne Division, trained to be precise, resourceful, and calm under pressure. All the qualities that would later make him a nightmare for police to catch. But somewhere along the line, the structure cracked. His marriage collapsed after a domestic dispute in 1999, and everything he'd built fell apart. That's when the soldier, with perfect timing and perfect aim, decided to aim somewhere darker. He took what he learned in uniform, strategy, patience, stealth, and applied it to a new mission: robbing fast food joints, and since he'd once worked at a McDonald's, he already knew the playbook. That's how the polite, disciplined paratrooper became the Roofman. Then comes the day everything unravels. December 26, 2004, the day after Christmas. While most people are nursing eggnog hangovers and returning unwanted sweaters, Jeffrey Manchester decides to rob the very toy store he's been living in. It's bold, it's reckless, and it's the beginning of the end. His plan? Simple enough. Drop down from the ceiling one last time, clean out the registers, and disappear before anyone knew he'd ever even been there. But this time, the employees don't freeze. They slip out, call the police, and blow the whole thing wide open. When investigators search the hidden spaces behind the walls and ceilings, they find everything he's built. Food, wrappers, makeshift bedding, writing, even his own secret entryways. But one discovery stands out: his fingerprints on a DVD copy of Catch Me If You Can. Yeah, the movie about a charming con artist who stays one step ahead of the law. You can't script irony better than that. By this point, Jeffrey has a new name, a new life, and a girlfriend who thinks she's dating a government contractor, not a fugitive living above the Barbie aisle. For a while, it looks like he might actually pull off the strangest redemption story ever told. But love stories, they don't usually end with a SWAT team. On a cold January day in 2005, officers show up at his girlfriend's workplace and drop a photo of her boyfriend on the desk. Only this isn't John, it's Jeffrey Manchester, escaped felon. The cops lay it all out: who he really is, what he did, and how long he's been on the run. Then they ask her for help. That night is supposed to be her birthday dinner. Instead, it becomes an undercover operation. She calls Jeff, voice steady, heart probably pounding, to ask what time he's picking her up. And true to his word, Roofman hits the road, stopping only once to buy her flowers. Romantic gesture, terrible timing. Moments later, he pulls into her driveway, bouquet in hand, ready for dinner, and walks straight into a waiting team of police. They arrest him just after he knocks on the door, and just like that, the man who lives in the ceiling finally hits the floor. Police finally have their Roofman, and when the headlines hit, the story spreads like wildfire. Escaped convict lived in Toys R Us ceiling. It's the kind of tale that sounds made up, too bizarre to be real. In court, Jeffrey faces a long list of charges: breaking and entering, armed robbery, escape, and more. The judge doesn't find his creativity as endearing as the public does. He's sentenced to an additional 40 years, stacked on top of the 45 he's already supposed to be serving. That's 85 years total. But the Roofman wasn't done trying to climb out. Reports say he attempted escape again in 2009 and 2017, though neither attempt came close to his original Houdini act. These days, he's still behind bars with a projected release date of 2036, when he'll be in his mid-60s. Meanwhile, his legend has only grown. The media turned him into a kind of a modern-day myth, the burglar who lived above a toy store, the polite criminal with a tragic streak. And now, Hollywood's picked up the story for the upcoming film, Roofman. Channing Tatum is playing him, by the way. But if there's one thing Jeffrey Manchester proved, it's that you can try to live above it all, but sooner or later, gravity always wins.